It's a sad day on the Gary Ayd Show. It is the end of the only Mets season that I've enjoyed and had expectations for in the last 14 years, 16 years. They went down like they always do in a whimpering ball of pus and crap. They set expectations only because we were foolish enough to believe in them. Our collective fan base was reminded of a hard lesson. If you root for this team, never expect anything good. If you root for this team, always expect the worst and be prepared for something a little worse than that. Last night was just the latest edition of a long-running odyssey that rivals War and Peace for length and complexity. But the end result is always the same. Absolute object misery and complete and total loss of faith. Right now, as I sit here today, I can only imagine what other Met fans are feeling. Me personally, I don't trust anybody anymore. I don't trust Buck Showalter. I don't trust Max Scherzer. I don't trust Jacob deGrom. I sure as hell don't trust Chris Bassett. And I absolutely don't trust Francisco Lindor. He was a walking strikeout in this series. A couple of meaningless hits, and other than that, nothing. I guess the only person on this team that I kind of still have some faith in is Pete Alonso. But even that, he didn't even perform to his level, but he was at least present in the series. This was a disaster. I mean, you get absolutely embarrassed. Joe Musgrove became Walter Johnson, and Kim Jong-un's fifth cousin, twice removed, was dropping nukes on the Mets. Like, what's going on with this crap? I mean, this Padres team is a decent baseball team, but the Mets were supposed to win this series. The Mets got absolutely nothing from their two starters that they built everything around. I felt that that Buck Showalter dodged a bullet last night, taking out Lugo when he did. Looked like they got some momentum with his two consecutive strikeouts after runners on second and third with nobody out. I think it was the seventh inning. And then you go to Givens. Now Givens got the guy out, but then he proceeded the next inning to fall apart. Diaz comes in and gives up the big base hit. He was the other guy that you're supposed to trust, and he didn't get the job done in that spot. Not that it mattered. They would have lost 4-0 instead of 6-0. It didn't matter at that point. It was just insult to injury. But the entire thing just makes you, question, what did we watch from April till September? What was any of that? Did any of it matter? Was any of it real? Because in the 6 biggest games of their season, the Mets are 1-5. In the 6 biggest games of the season, Jacob deGrom and Max Scherzer are 0-4. So did any of it matter? The story today, of course, is going to be the national story anyway, outside of New York, is going to be Buck Showalter getting Musgrove checked for substances. That was a Hail Mary. Buck knew damn well they were done at that point. He was just trying anything he could think of to try to get something going for his team. I am so disappointed and frankly disgusted with the performance of this team, and more so myself. I'm disgusted with myself that I allowed myself to enjoy this season, get excited about this team. What a moron. What an absolute moron. Yes, I'm talking about myself in the third person. It was so stupid to do. And I won't do that again. I learned my lesson. They are now going to get the Detroit Lions treatment, which, by the way, me and my Sunday co-part, Richie, disagreed strongly in this game. He's up in New England area, so he's kind of got like a firsthand look at the Patriots, and I guess he's got a little Patriot fatigue. But I said, look, it's the Lions. They'll screw it up. I thought it would be close. I thought they would score. They were the leading scorer in the NFL going into the game. That's another
Not
story.
anymore.
Not anymore. We'll get to that. But yeah, with my Mets post-mortem here, Met fans, remember this lesson. Never, ever trust this team again. Never get too excited again. And never allow yourself to have expectations again. Lesson
until
learned.
next year.
No.
Oh, come on.
Nope.
You and I both know next year you're right on this if they get off to a hot start.
But I'm not going to expect them to win again.
You can't flush away your season. It was a 101 win season.
But what did it mean? The 6 games that really mattered, they lost.
You were outpitched on 2 of 3 nights by a pitching staff that deserved more credit than most people wanted to give them.
See, I put the blame at the feet of Scherzer and DeGrom. They're supposed to be the guys in these situations, and both of them were pedestrian. Scherzer was objectively terrible. DeGrom was
I don't think Scherzer was 100%.
Well, then
that's not an excuse.
Then he shouldn't be out there. He took the ball, so he should be. That's what he's there for. That's what and by the way, it was the same mess in the Braves series with both of them. So so really, when I think of this season, I'm going to think of getting swept by the Braves and getting embarrassed by an inferior Padres team. And that's how I'm going to remember the season. So next year, from now on, I'm treating this Mets group like I treat the Phoenix Suns or some of these other regular season paper Tigers. They can win 120 games next year, and I'll assume they'll blow it in the playoffs until shown otherwise. That's what they achieved this year, is they reinforced what I should have known, which is don't ever trust this team.
Your starting pitchers in 14 2/3 innings in this series gave up 12 earned runs.
Yeah. And
you're not going to win like that.
Well, no, and that's the problem. When the games mattered, they've cracked under the pressure.
And I will give San Diego a little more credit than you. Their hits were timely. They executed. They took the extra base when it was necessary, even a few times when it wasn't. And they did what they needed to do to win. And Musgrove was incredible.
Yeah,
was he throwing hard? Oh, yeah, he must have a substance. No, it's adrenaline.
That was Buck.
He wanted that game pretty bad.
I don't think Buck even believed that he had a substance. I think Buck was throwing his hands against the wall at that point.
What does that tell your team?
Well, it tells them what everyone else already
knew. You guys can do anything.
Yeah, well, no, and why? But he was being honest. At that point, I knew the game was over. There's not a chance they were winning that game. I knew that game was over when it was 3-0. There's no chance in hell they were winning. I don't even know why I watched it at that point. It was a waste of my time. I should have just gone upstairs at that point. They were miserable. They were absolutely miserable.
At some point in all 3 games, San Diego starting pitching took the Mets crowd right out of the game as well. It wasn't sustainable in the second game, but in the other 2, it was. And that's a city of 8.5 million people? You couldn't sell out a damn playoff game.
Yeah, I mean, I think these games were more or less sold out, but
they were not. Yesterday was 39,000. It was 3,000 short of a sellout, and tickets were available online.
Yeah. Well, maybe there were more Met fans smarter than me who realized they were going to just go there and watch them suck. Maybe those 3,000 that didn't buy tickets were the smart ones. What a disaster.
I would never agree to that.
What a disaster. I'm glad I wasn't there last night, cold and miserable.
Well, yeah.
I'm glad I wasn't there game 1 either. And I'm glad I wasn't there for 6 out of the 9 innings in game 2. Look, when you really break it down, they had 3 good innings in 3 games. When you really break it down.
Right.
So this was just an absolute fall on your face embarrassment. I would have rather them not make the playoffs. Honestly, because
I told you before this series that San Diego's pitching was better than you were giving them credit.
Yeah, San Diego didn't impress me.
Really?
No.
Darvish looked great. Musgrove looked
See,
great.
I think the Mets looked terrible. I didn't see a great San Diego team. I saw a decent
because you
playoff team.
want to see it that way.
No, I don't want to see it that way. I want nothing more than to see the Mets look great. But San Diego is an okay playoff team. And
Well,
that's what they are.
Maybe that pitching made the Mets look less than what they were.
No.
And I completely agree with you on Lindor. He was
Lindor
nowhere
sucks.
to be found.
Yeah, Lindor
Nowhere
sucks. I would look to trade him. I haven't been a fan of his since he came here.
Oh, I know you have.
He's had empty stats this year. Every time I watched him in a key at bat, either through extended inning, get an inning going, late in the game, runners in scoring position, I would be trying to open up DraftKings and find a betting line that is to my liking to bet that he's going to fail. But I can't because everyone knows that's the case. It's just, I mean, he's a disaster. The only guy in this team I trust anymore is Pete Alonso. That's really it. Diaz disappointed me in a big spot.
He showed up. Diaz pitched over an inning the last game when it was unnecessary.
Yeah, no
way they truck him back out there with a lead that big.
Yeah,
that's not what he's there for.
No, that was dumb. That's what I mean. I lost some trust in Buck in this series. He did some things like that really made me question him.
And that's why he wasn't as effective last night.
Right. I guess last night I'm going to give Diaz a tiny bit of a pass here. That was, salt. That was salt on the wound. It didn't matter. At that point, the way the Mets were playing, a half a run was all that San Diego needed. They didn't need 6. So it didn't matter. But it was just an exclamation point on the abject failure and ineptitude of this franchise in games that matter. So yeah, next year, wake me up in October after they've won a series. Maybe I'll believe in them again. Not before then. And now the other thing, much less so, I don't have any interest in the remaining National League playoffs. 0. The only other team I had any rooting interest for was St. Louis because of Albert Pujols. The only team I care about anymore now is Houston. I'm rooting for Dusty Baker. If they get eliminated, then I'm pretty much done with baseball mode until next year.
Yeah, what if your Mariners upset them?
Oh, I'm not a Mariners fan. I just thought they were going to win that series. I don't particularly love watching them play. They're cool, but
they did convincingly.
They did. No, they did.
Castillo was on point in the first game of that series.
Yeah,
unhittable.
Yeah, but I think my time of investing watching games is going to be greatly reduced the rest of this playoffs. I'll watch some Houston games, and as long as they're in the act, I'll probably watch their games. But besides that, I'm kind of done. I guess I'm lukewarm on the Dodgers, just because they've been so good for so many years now. But I really the fastball for this playoffs is gone for me. There's not everything that I'm gonna try to watch will be purely academic at this point. I have no passion left for what's left in the field, other than some for Houston because of Dusty Baker. National League, I'm done.
And I was thrilled about the Phillies win because I am so tired of Cardinals, Pujols. No, I was done.
That was the ultimate storyline of the season for me. Besides the Mets, that was the only other thing in this playoffs in the National League anyway that I was intrigued in.
I was thrilled the Phillies pitching shut them down, except for Pujols. Unbelievable.
Yeah, they're going to try to bring him back, I'm sure. He's the best hitter in the second half of the season.
And what happened to Goldschmidt?
He hung out. He hung out with the Mets players before the playoffs.
He was pathetic.
Yeah, he got sprinkles of Mets pixie dust. That's what happened with him. Mets playoff.
So
dust.
I give you your props on the Mariners.
They
Good
won.
pick. I'll take mine on the Guardianas.
The Guardianas. There we go. And that's it. So we have.
They can't score runs, but man, Bieber and McKenzie were outstanding.
Yeah,
and Cleveland's relief pitching was outstanding. They gave up 1 run in 2 games.
So we got a 1-hour show today. So let's take a quick break. We'll come back. We got NFL to get to, and then we have a little bit of news on the NBA as well. It's the Gary Ayd Show here on The Cave.
Get back to the Gary Ayd Show on The Cave, Orange County's conversation station.
Okay, we're back. The Gary Ayd Show here on The Cave. Abbreviated version today, a 1 hour show going till 11. So let's take a look at the NFL. Had a pretty good week this week, I do believe.
You were 9-6.
Okay. Not terrible.
I was 10-5. And we disagree on tonight's game, so
a chance to tie.
A chance to tie.
That's right. You know,
it was a decent week. Remember when I said last week I had trepidation on taking the Rams in that Cowboys game? This offense is no longer elite. 2.5 yards a carry, allowing 5 sacks, granted to a good Dallas defense.
Yeah, that Dallas defense is great.
They are not an elite offense right now.
No, I have full confidence that they're going to figure it out before the season's all said and done. And they also have the luxury of having a division that's kind of blah at the moment. So they're not really buried. They're 2-3. And basically the whole division is more or less within the game of itself. So if they were in the NFC East, they'd be in a lot of trouble right now. And talk about that for a second. The NFC least has re-earned its actual name that you read in the papers, the NFC East. It's no longer the least, at least for now, pun intended. This division shocks me. I mean, Dallas's defense is not surprising. They led the league in takeaways last year. I expected this to be a good unit. They are headlined by, I'll say it now, I don't care, it's the second year, a future Hall of Famer in Micah Parsons. That dude's a monster. He's the best linebacker I've seen come in the NFL since Ray Lewis. Guy's incredible. Played hurt last night, didn't matter, still made plays. Guy's an absolute
all over
beast.
The field.
He's an absolute beast. Looking at the rest of this division, the Eagles, Dylan, our buddy on chat here, big Eagles fan. Look, they're 5-0, only undefeated team in the NFL. And then somehow the Giants, big blue, baby, 4-1. They go across the pond, hand it to Aaron Rodgers. A little bit of a confusing situation at the end of the game with the clock, whatever. Didn't matter. Giants won. That defense is real. Their running game is real. And Jones, for the first time maybe in his career, is being asked to do what he's maybe capable of doing. I look at Daniel Jones, and I have the perfect comparison. He is Alex Smith. To me, his career trajectory reflects Smith. Early on, Smith had a million head coaches and coordinators, was asked to do too much, maybe was picked too high for what his abilities were, but was a solid game manager with mobility. What's Daniel Jones? Too many coordinators, too many head coaches, asked to do too much.
Head coaches and coordinators,
solid game management,
maybe
with
solid
good mobility. So there you go. Pretty good stuff. I think the comparison fits, and I think that this guy is now finally in a role where he's capable of excelling at. And Carlos on chat saying, if I'm in New York, I'm giving OBJ anything he wants to come back. And he wants AB too. No. Carlos, I hear you're on OBJ. It's a homecoming. Maybe he's matured a little bit. Let's not get crazy about AB. He's gonna be dancing off with someone's wife or something afterwards. Nah, I'm not with you on that one, man. I got you on OBJ, but I'm not feeling AB. We can't have too many acronym names here. One is enough.
AB made me laugh harder than I've laughed in a long time on Twitter.
Oh yeah, were you laughing with him or at him? What happened?
With him. He posted a little thing of a children's book.
Yep.
When Daddy leaves home, and the guy walking out of the house with the suitcase was Tom Brady.
Wow. Oh, that's savage. You know what's sick about that, though? I mean, that is funny. But all jokes,
it was funny.
All
I
joking
realized
aside,
Brady took the guy in.
Oh my God! And this is why I don't want him. Someone that's going to do that for you, resurrect your career. You were on the scrap heap, and then on top of that, let you live in his house, and you're going to savage him like this? That's cold. It really is cold, man. But that is funny. I do have to say it's funny, but man, that's just wrong. Oh man. But yeah, overall, a couple other takeaways from this week. Reinforcing my lifelong ban on picking the Lions to succeed at any point ever. A week after losing, after scoring 45, they say, you know what?
Many better games to talk about here.
Yeah, but I have to pull this one out because here's the thing. A week after, this just illustrates the insanity of the NFL and the ridiculousness of this team, right? A week after losing while scoring 45 in regulation, they decide, you know what? Scoring didn't work. Let's see how low we can go. Maybe we could play golf. Oh, we got a 0. Oh, wait, it's still football? Damn, I guess we got shut out. This team's ridiculous. Oh, sorry, Jack.
Well, to me, I'm laughing at Dolphins fans today.
Oh, they got crunched. And
they were the ones saying, oh, Bills fans are saying that we lost because of the injuries. Well, they did the same thing yesterday. So shut up, take your L, take your seat. And how does third place taste? The Jets beat them bad. And I loved it.
And didn't we pick that game?
Yes, we did.
Yeah. Pat ourselves on the back with that one.
Wimpy team, wimpy fan base. What do you want?
Fair weather fans, literally.
Oh, yeah. Well, we did pick the Jags over the Texans.
Oopsies. Well,
congrats to the Texans. Your defense was excellent, and you got a good win.
That was a gross game. 13-6.
Someone on Twitter yesterday before 1 o'clock actually tweeted, I'll get this out of the way now. Kenny Pickett is greater than Josh Allen. How did that age, pal? Actually, I added the Steelers on that. I did an @Steelers on my response.
Oh, that's tremendous.
And I said, one of yours has escaped from the home. You better get them.
They got off the reservation. Yeah, that's another one I'm
probably blocked by them now, and I don't care.
That was another one I was talking with my buddy Richie about, and he convinced me to pick the Steelers to cover. And I was telling him, I was like, this offense can't do anything. But he convinced me, walked me into it, and I was I sent him an angry face emoji last night about midway through the second quarter when it was like 30-3. I was like, yeah, let's not do that again. We were pretty good on the Saints in terms of the spread anyway. I know we both had Seattle in that game.
We both had the Sea Hags to win.
So we
Oh
lost.
boy,
that
is that
one.
a mistake?
That was a mistake. The commies didn't disappoint. That game went about as expected. I got to give Vegas its flowers on something. Vegas is crazy. They were, I thought, the ultimate, low hanging fruit this week. My biggest lock was the Chargers to cover a 1.5 point spread. And I guess technically I won, but not by much. They ended up winning by 2.
No.
How did Vegas, every once in a while, like once every couple of weeks, I'll see a line like that, and then it plays out basically exactly. And it reminds me that, you know what? There's a reason those casinos have such nice furniture. It's because we don't win.
Say it's funny, but man, that's just.
I mean, it's terrible. It really is. But hey, Eagles Bills Super Bowl is what we're hearing in the chats right now. You know what?
Nah, Eagles and Cowboys is going to be interesting next week. Bills and Chiefs is going to answer a lot of questions about both of those teams.
Yes.
Bills are badly banged up, but I'll tell you what, their number 1 draft pick, who's been doing well at corner all year, had a pick. Their number 2 draft pick, the running back, finally got into a game and ran for a 25-yard touchdown. And the first wide receiver they drafted caught his first touchdown pass. So some rooks are stepping up into these roles.
Well, these wins, when you are banged up, are exactly the reason why I think this is a team that really is destined to be hoisting the Lombardi Trophy. Like, those type of wins are far more impressive.
The way you feel about the Mets?
Understood. Say no more. I totally get
it.
I totally get it.
This.
I
I've
understand.
Been through this.
Yes, I understand. I completely get it. I totally understand it. The only difference right now is, at least in more recent times, the Bills have at least proven capable of winning playoff series, or in the case of the NFL games. Obviously, they'll do series. But yeah, it's interesting. It really is. I tell you what, one other thing in this game this week, sometimes I'm inconsistent in terms of what I pick on our show and then what I pick on our weekend show with Richie, or the Final Line, where we make our sports bets. Sometimes I pick,
and I've heard that. So.
Yeah, sometimes I pick based off of, the betting likelihood. Like, for example, I had the, Dylan's not going to like to hear this, but I had the Cardinals winning yesterday, and they almost pulled it off. And I did that mostly because I was getting, I think, plus 275. Ravens beat the Bengals last night. That was a pretty gutsy win. A series of field goals and 1 touchdown in the second quarter for the Ravens. They still, to me, that kicking game, I know it's not sexy to talk about kickers, but that Ravens kicker is like the ultimate weapon. Like, he's Tucker is just, I couldn't remember his name. Tucker is just unbelievable. How consistent he is.
He has saved that team more times
than my goodness.
Anyone want to know.
My goodness.
Chatting with us today, Notoriety Sports Network said, how about that ridiculous Tom Brady roughing the passer call to save Tampa the game? I could not agree more.
Yeah, I mean,
other quarterbacks were taken down a lot harder than that without a flag. I mean, he was grazed. It's like they breathed on him.
Well, Stafford got the benefit of a questionable call at the end of their game as well. Now, he actually took a hit on it, but it was a clean hit.
That was a terrible call, too.
Yeah, I mean, but hey, that's part of the deal. That stuff never, ever bothers me. But, I mean, with Brady, it's a career lifetime achievement award of, he's been getting that treatment from the very beginning. He's him and Michael Jordan are like the king and prince of beneficial calls. But
yeah,
I mean, that was Jordan back in the day too. I remember Magic.
Well, believe me, we've been on the wrong end of those, and I don't like
it. I remember Magic Johnson during a photo op during the Dream Team documentary that was filmed during Barcelona, said, "Don't get too close to Michael. It's a foul," when they were doing a photo shoot. So it was known even
Dwayne
then.
Wade was that. Dwayne Wade was that way for years.
That's
They
true.
would open up the lane for him. Someone would breathe on him too hard. He'd make the layup and he'd get the 3-point play out.
Yeah, that's very true. Also,
Constantly. That's why I consider him overrated. And I know you don't, so we'll disagree.
yeah, I mean, I think Dwayne Wade is.
He was good.
I think he's somewhere in the 4 to 7 ranking of all-time shooting guards. I mean, I certainly have him behind Jordan, Kobe, West, those 3 for sure. And then, then you have to start asking questions about some other guys. I think he's somewhere between, like, depends. There's certain guys, like, where do you slot them? I mean, if you're going to slot Julius Erving as a shooting guard, well, Julius Erving's better. You're going to slot Rick Barry as a 2 guard, but I think he's more of a forward. I think both those guys are more of forwards. So, like, it depends where you want to slot guys. But I think the very, very least there's 4 guys ahead of him, and maybe more depending on.
At the least.
I mean, if
he belongs in the Hall of Very Good.
You don't think he's a Hall of Famer?
No.
Interesting. Oh, I certainly.
No, he got more calls than it was ridiculous. To me, that takes away some of the luster when you're gifted too much.
He's also the greatest shot blocking guard I've ever seen.
He is. But if you're handed that much on the offensive end, I immediately lose respect for you because that means you need that.
Okay.
And I don't buy it. Very good. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah, I mean, I think that there's definitely some validity to he got a lot of calls. There's no question. But Jordan got a whole ton of calls too. Maybe more.
He did too, but he also made a whole ton of plays without them.
Yeah.
Believe me.
No, of course he did. But I think
every single time we used to sit there and laugh watching games going, they're pretty close to Wade. It's going to be a 3-point opportunity. Always was.
Yeah. All right, let's see.
Hey, back to football.
Yes.
49ers pulled it out yesterday. Didn't look great.
Yeah, but
kind of played down to their competition. Carolina's awful.
Carolina stinks.
If this were the English Premier League, they'd be relegated. They'd be gone. They'd be playing in a minor somewhere. Oh, that was terrible.
Oh, it really was.
And why is no one questioning that coach? How many years has he had to do this?
This is like his 4th year, I think.
Yeah, start to turn it around.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I couldn't agree with you more at that point. At this point, I couldn't agree with you more. 37-15. I mean, what else do you want, though? I mean, like they pretty well killed them. I mean,
oh, they did, but they coasted through it. It was like,
well, that's because there was no one pushing back. I mean, you can't push the sled if it's on wheels. I mean, it's like, what do you want from him? What do you want him to do?
But I mean, they did everything they needed to do.
I think San Francisco, I said this to my friend yesterday. I think San Francisco last week figured some stuff out. I actually think that Kyle Shanahan is done with his little hissy fit. I think they've buried the hatchet. Jimmy G looks like he's reasserted himself. And I think this team is right back to being a contending team. I think right now they're the second best team in the NFC behind our friends in Philly and maybe Dallas. I think those are the 3 best teams in the NFC right now.
I don't disagree.
I mean, they look really good.
I really don't. We're going to know more about Philly once they play Dallas.
Yeah, that's going to be an interesting game.
I want to see what Hurts does against that defense. The Cardinals didn't put up that much of a defensive. They weren't really. Their defense wasn't really working.
Yeah, here's an interesting one. So we got tonight's game. We can finish. We'll take one more break, but let's talk about tonight's game real quick. I think this game.
But I know you said you had something NBA you wanted to touch on too. So.
Yes, I do. Okay. This game tonight is to me a really interesting game. I think the Raiders are going to win this one. I really do. I think they're going to pull this game off. I think this is a team that has a lot more talent than their record would indicate. I think they figured something out last week. And I think the Chiefs are, like I said with the Dolphins, I think the Chiefs are due for sort of a slap in the mouth game return to reality. I got Oakland tonight, or Vegas as it is. I got Vegas. I really like their passing game. And that's the key to being able to stay in the game and beat the Chiefs. You have to have a passing game that, when clicking, is capable of keeping up with them because they're going to score. And so to me, I think that the Raiders have that. Carr's a very good quarterback. The combination of Waller and Adams is about as good a 1-2 punch as there is in the NFL. That leads to some good open opportunities for some slot guys and underneath stuff because everyone has to worry about those two. And then their defense has enough punch, enough pass rush to maybe force Mahomes into maybe one mistake or a couple of stuttered drives where they settle for field goals because you're not going to stop that team. So if you're able to get them one time with a key mistake or force them into 2 field goals throughout the course of the game that otherwise would have been touchdowns, and your offense is able to keep with them, that's how you beat this team. It's a narrow path, but the Raiders have, I think, the pieces to pull off that path, and it's as good a time as any to pull an upset card and make a prediction for an upset. So why not? I got Oakland tonight, or Vegas.
I think the easiest way for Oakland to win this game is if KC's looking the next week. I just think Kansas City has too many weapons, and I am not that impressed with the Raiders' defense.
Yeah, I mean, look, they're not a great defense, but they have a couple of guys that can get after the quarterback, and I think that that's the key to beating the Chiefs. Is you have to get pressure on Mahomes and you have to score. I think I'll put it this way: whichever kicker we see less of in this game will be the team that wins. This game's going to take touchdowns. The field goals are going to be almost as bad as empty possessions in this game. I think both teams need offense, and Vegas agrees. The over-under on this is 52.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Both teams can score.
Yeah.
I mean, that's Dylan brought up an interesting point. He says, hate to say it, but Minnie is legit too. Only losses to Philly. What do you think about the Vikings in the NFC?
The Vikings, to me, are sort of the equivalent of like a $50,000 a year, $60,000 a year job. They're solid. They're good. They're consistent. You can depend on it, but it's not spectacular. I feel they're, a good, solid team. And I think they are capable of winning on any given Sunday against just about anybody. But
they could beat anyone.
No, they can. But I also think that they have a slightly less margin of error for execution, play to play, than some of their counterparts at the top of the conference do. Philly, because of their explosive offense, can afford a dumb interception or a bad penalty here or there. See, I feel like Minnesota doesn't have that luxury. I feel like San Francisco, because of their great defense, can afford a turnover in the middle of the field and still hold them to a field goal or even less. I just don't know if Minnesota has enough elite talent on either side of the ball to overcome an ill-timed miscue. And to me, that's the difference between them and the teams that I would rank ahead of them in the NFC, which would be Dallas,
Philly
and San Francisco. Yes.
To me, there's about 3 Kirk Cousins meltdowns every season. Maybe 2. But they're always there. And I always see that on the back burner. But I like their roster a lot.
Yeah, no, I mean, they're a good team. Don't get me wrong. They're definitely a good team. And Jefferson's a beast. He's about as good a receiver as there is in the NFL.
Yeah, and proved it again yesterday.
Yes, he's an absolute monster.
With another catch that was just amazing.
Yeah, he's incredible. And then I also like Cousins a lot. I think he's a really good quarterback.
Every once in a while, though, he just has that game.
Yeah, that's true.
And you can see it. when it comes.
Yeah, it's like a meltdown. It's like you just like see it slowly boiling, and it's like uh-oh.
And I'm sitting, when I see those, I'm sitting there thinking, come on, you're better than this.
Yeah, you're so much right. I couldn't agree more. I absolutely agree. It's really interesting. I know Dylan got up specifically for this show today. He's always he's a night owl, so we appreciate it. Maybe you could send him some of that dark roast coffee you got going on. Send him some of that noble coffee.
If I could send it over the wire, I would.
There we go. Hey,
I appreciate anyone who can do that because I hate getting up early.
yes,
I do it, but I hate it.
yeah, it's not a pretty sight. I always said single digits is too early.
Oh yeah, to me, I'd rather get up at like the crack of noon.
The crack of noon. There we go. All right, let's take one last break. We'll come back and we will continue on. We're going to do a little NBA as we wrap things up. It's the Gary Ayd Show here on The Cave.
Do you own a timeshare? Well, face the facts. You made a mistake. You made a bad purchase. A timeshare is not an investment. It's a money pit that continues forever. If you use your timeshare, that's great. But if you don't and you want to legally get out of your contract, call my friends right now at the Timeshare Exit Hotline. They're an experienced team of lawyers who help good people like you get out of a timeshare contract that they just don't want. Don't throw away your money on maintenance fees. Use it for things you really want. We can help you end your timeshare contract and stop the money drain immediately. If you're ready to move on with your timeshare, call our team right now.
Cancel your timeshare now with a free call. 800-741-9557. 800-741-9557. 800-741-9557. That's 800-741-9557. If you're living with diabetes and using insulin, you know the pain of pricking your fingers over and over again. Ouch! Well, by wearing a small remote device called a continuous glucose monitor, or CGM, you can reduce the pain of pricking your fingers. If you administer insulin 3 or more times per day or use an insulin pump, call now and learn how a CGM can help you.
Painless. No more pricking my finger.
No finger pricks.
Convenience. They delivered it free and they took care of all the paperwork.
You can reduce pain right away. Plus, it's accurate, easy to use, and helps you spend more time in range. And if you have insurance, you can get a new CGM at little or no out-of-pocket cost. Call now and get free shipping of your new CGM. Plus, we'll bill your insurance for you. 800-826-5884. 800-826-5884. 800-826-5884. That's 800-826-5884.
Let's get back to the Gary Ayd Show on The Cave, Orange County's conversation station.
Okay, we're back. Great to have you aboard. Gary Ayd, Rich Anselmo for another couple minutes. Today's show ends at 11. I'll be back to normal schedule tomorrow. So this thing with Draymond Green, over the weekend, it really felt like it was the calm before the storm. It really felt like there was a deafening, concerning silence from the Warriors camp. It was announced immediately that there was likely to be some type of repercussions and disciplinary action. The fact that there's been virtually no discussion of it, at least officially from the team since then, makes me believe that when this does come down, it's going to be more severe than originally thought, perhaps. I think he really crossed the line this time, and I think the team is trying to figure out a soft landing here. I'm not going to be shocked if he's not suspended, at least for a significant period of time, if not outright traded or released. I think that the silence is deafening here. I really do. It's just a feeling. It's based on nothing but me reading the temperature of the room. I could be totally off base here, but I think if it was going to be a 5-game suspension and a $500,000 fine, that would have been announced quickly.
I don't disagree, but I'm not sure how severe it's going to be.
I don't know either, but I think I think it's going to be pretty significant because, like I said, if it was going to be something like a 5 or a 10-game suspension and a fine and anger management classes and all the normal stuff, I don't think they would have waited this long. And the other thing that's kind of interesting is you've heard them, meaning the Warriors organization, talk more about investigating who leaked the video than figuring out, well, what are you going to do about the fact like the video is only relevant because what happens in it? Hello?
But I get that. Why is anyone leaking practice videos? Who are they? And I want to know too. I mean, stuff happens in practice. We get it. I don't consider this a fight, though. I think it was one guy.
Right.
A little different than a normal practice fight.
Right. Well, and that's the thing. And we're getting some comments in chats. 100% fine with what happened. I played every sport and I've seen and been involved in bloody fights. We were brothers the next day. It's just a competitive atmosphere. I don't disagree with that. The thing that makes this different, and Rich was just pointing it out, is that this guy is like an army of one. Like these fights only happen because of him, basically. And he has a history of basically chasing away talent. So, and I think that at this point, at 32, 33 years old, as a role player, I do think Green is running out of rope here with the organization. I do. And that's why I just get the feeling there's going to be something kind of significant here. And I think a lot of it's going to depend on what vibes, and maybe that's what's taking so long. Maybe the team is trying to get a conclusive, non-emotional take from the Poole camp. Like, you know, what do you want done about this? How will you
Poole
feel?
hasn't said a word.
Publicly, no. What I'm saying is maybe they're trying to elicit a candid, feeling, not emotionally charged from what happened from his camp to, help inform their decision, which would lead me to think, if that's indeed the case, that they value Poole organizationally as an asset greater than Green. And I mean, they should. I mean, he's 11 years younger and has a lot more natural ability. So, I mean, that would only make sense. Green has a unique position in that team and that group, but I think at a certain point, just pure ability and upside and proven upside, it's not like he's just like pure potential with Poole. I think at some point that's going to, have to play. And it's just a matter of, if Poole legitimately is cool with it and it's water under the bridge and the organization accepts that, then I think maybe nothing will happen or very little. But if there's more of a issue there, I think it could be more significant to fall out. And I think maybe that's, the more I'm talking this through, I think maybe that's the holdup. The organization's trying to get a real feel from the Poole camp.
I don't know. Like I said, I mean, I coached for years. You know that. I've seen my share of fights in practice.
Oh,
and it's usually something that's forgotten the next day. And should be.
Yep.
This was not your normal fight.
No. And also I don't care how common fights are or not. At a certain point, and he's long past it, your reputation with this type of stuff precedes you. The truth is, if it was Jordan Poole and Looney, this isn't even a story. It doesn't matter. It's another practice fight. Draymond Green, because of his behavior over the course of his career, has earned this level of scorn and continued negative attention because this is who he is.
Oh yeah, he's earned no goodwill through the years.
Right. And that's really what this comes down to. It was the same with Rasheed Wallace, with the technicals. DeMarcus Cousins is another one. There's certain.
DeMarcus is trying to apologize his way back into the league.
Yep. And so is Kemba Walker, for that matter. That's an interesting thing to end on here. If you had a choice to sign one of those two guys, you had to sign one. Who would you want? Let's say on an expansion team. So you don't have an existing roster, so it's not a question of fit. You're going to build a team from available players that are available right now, and you have to choose one of those two.
I'm taking DeMarcus. I can find scorers.
Yep.
I can find volume shooters that don't hit a good percentage. They're out there. Size isn't. Size with that ability isn't.
Yeah, no,
I was
agree.
hoping he'd mature.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, and it's a shame his career went the way it did, because after that knee injury, he's been downhill. But man, that season with New Orleans, he was playing at an MVP level for about half the year.
Oh, yeah.
He really was.
No, you're not going to count on him for that many minutes anymore.
Right.
But could he come in and play 15 to 20 a night for someone? Sure.
Yep.
He's got the skill.
I would take him on the Lakers right now, to be honest with you. I mean, they have a poor bench, little depth, bad front court depth, especially. I would sign him on the Lakers today. Honestly, I really would. Can't hurt anything.
Yeah.
You know, like, what are you going to lose? It's a minimum contract. Like, oh, what's Linsanity up to? Oh God, here we go. Linsanity. Hanging out in Brooklyn, probably.
Your favorite topic.
At a coffee shop, talking about the glory days of the 3 weeks of his career. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, he had a career and a ring out of it. So
hey, there you go. That's it.
I mean,
he's the Matt Flynn of the NBA.
I won't begrudge him.
Absolutely. Hey, get what you can get, man. All right. Well, I know you got to roll, Rich. So we'll be back tomorrow, everyone. Thanks for tuning in. We'll be back 10 to noon. This is the Gary Ayd Show. You're on The Cave.